Hello and a very warm welcome to Rajya Sabha television. You're watching the news tonight. I'm Frank Razum Pereira. Here are the headlines. Use a mix of traditional knowledge and modern science to develop world-class products. Prime Minister Narendra Modi tells Scientists' Council of Scientific and Industrial Research meet. Suggests focus on social issues like water conservation and malnutrition to prepare blueprint for the future. On a day-long visit to Varanasi, Prime Minister Modi to dedicate more than 30 projects to the nation. Prime Minister to also flag off Varanasi-Ujjain Mahakal Express via video link and inaugurate the Kashi Ek Roop Anek program. Civilized society needs to adopt environmental ethics of tribal communities, says Vice President M. Venkaiah Naidu at the AADIVASI MAHOTSAV in Ramnagar, Madhya Pradesh. Underscores need for a continuous dialogue between the administration and local community to fulfill overall development needs. ₹15 lakh crore loan target for agriculture sector to be achieved in the next financial year. Finance Minister NIRMALA SITHARAMAN reiterates government's commitment to double farmers' incomes. RBI Governor Shaktikanta Das says additional cash is making conditions favorable to achieve monetary policy goals. And India objects to Turkish President Erdogan's remarks on Kashmir, tells Istanbul to stay away from India's internal matters. Foreign Ministry says Pakistan-sponsored terrorism is a serious threat to India and the subcontinent. Prime Minister Narendra Modi chaired a meeting of the Council of Scientific and Industrial Research Society in New Delhi. Addressing the meeting, he urged the scientists to focus on real-time issues being faced by the country, such as malnutrition, by providing value addition in agricultural products. He asked the scientists to work on the aspirational needs of India and improve the quality of life of the common people. Prime Minister Modi exhorted scientists to focus on emerging challenges, including 5G wireless technology, artificial intelligence, and affordable and long-lasting batteries for renewable energy storage. He also spoke on the need to attract young students towards science and further strengthen scientific acumen in the next generation. Prime Minister Narendra Modi is scheduled to visit Varanasi on Sunday. During the visit, Prime Minister Modi would inaugurate over 30 developmental projects. This includes a 430-bed super speciality government hospital at Kashi Hindu Vishwavidyalaya and a 74-bed psychiatry hospital at BHU. He will also participate in the closing ceremony of the centenary celebrations of Jagat Guru Vishwaradhya Gurukul. The Prime Minister will dedicate the Pandit Deen Dayal Upadhyay Memorial Centre to the nation and unveil the 63-feet statue of Pandit Deen Dayal. He is also scheduled to inaugurate Kashi Ek Roop Anek program. The event will showcase products from all over Uttar Pradesh. He would also interact with buyers and artisans coming from countries including the United States, England, and Australia. Well, Vice President M. Venkaiah Naidu on Saturday inaugurated the two-day Adi Mahotsav in Mandla district of Ramnagar in Madhya Pradesh. While addressing the event, Vice President M. Venkaiah Naidu emphasized on providing adequate equal opportunities in the mainstream while preserving the traditional knowledge and craft of the tribes. He said that the expectations and aspirations of the development of the tribal community cannot be ignored. He also called for continued constructive dialogue between the administration and the local community, and that it would require a sense of sensitivity and balance between development and tradition.
यह आवश्यक है कि जनजातियों के पारंपरिक ज्ञान और शिल्प को संरक्षित रखते हुए भी उन्हें राष्ट्रीय जीवन की मुख्य धारा में बराबर के पर्याप्त अवसर उपलब्ध कराए जाने, जनजातीय समुदाय के विकास के अपेक्षाओं को, आकांक्षाओं को नजरअंदाज नहीं किया जा सकता। आवश्यक है कि प्रशासन और स्थानीय समुदाय के बीच निरंतर रचनात्मक संवाद हो। इस विकास तथा परंपरा के बीच संवेदना और संतुलन की आवश्यकता होगी।
The Vice President also said that the development of the tribal communities is a necessary condition for inclusive development and constitutional responsibility. He also underscored that he expected university to be a center for conservation and research of local tribal culture.
हमारा जनजातीय समुदाय के विकास न केवल हमारे समावेशी विकास के दर्शन की आवश्यक शर्त है, बल्कि हमारा संवैधानिक दायित्व भी है। हमारे संविधान में जनजातीय क्षेत्र और समुदायों के लिए विशेष प्रावधान किया गया है। हर्ष है कि जबलपुर के निकट ही अमरकंटक में राष्ट्रीय जनजातीय विश्वविद्यालय ने कार्य करना शुरू कर दिया है। आवश्यक है कि ये विश्वविद्यालय जनजातीय भाषाओं, साहित्य, लोक काव्य परंपरा, पर्यावरण सम्मत जीवन शैली, शिल्पों, तकनीकों का संकलन करे और उन पर शोध करे। हमारे एकेडमिक और बौद्धिक विमर्श में जनजातीय पारंपरिकों को ज्ञान परंपरा पर शोध किया जाना जरूरी है, नहीं तो ये समृद्ध परंपरा लुप्त हो जाएगी। एक अध्ययन के अनुसार विगत 50 वर्षों में भारत में लगभग 250 भाषाएं और बोलियां विलुप्त हो गई है और इसमें से अधिकांश बोलियां जनजातीय समुदायों की है। एक भाषा के लोप के साथ ही एक सभ्यता, एक संस्कृति का सृजनात्मक परंपरा का अवसान होता है। अतः विश्वविद्यालयों से अपेक्षा करता हूं कि वे स्थानीय जनजातीय संस्कृति के संरक्षण और शोधन का केंद्र बने।
Vice President Naidu also said that Naxals have tried to disrupt the path of development in the tribal regions, but the government has been successful in combating it and fulfilling their expectations through talks.
हिंसा से कुछ होगा नहीं, समस्या का समाधान नहीं होगा। लोकतंत्र में बैलेट इज मोर पावरफुल देन बुलेट। आप जो देखते भी होंगे ना क्या हो रहा है, इन लोगों ने इतना हिंसा प्रेरित करके देश में इन्होंने केवल विकास को रोका, कुछ नहीं कर पाए। इसलिए माओवादी तत्व समस्याओं का समाधान नहीं है। लोकतंत्र में हम सब लोग विश्वास रख के आपस में एक साथ होके मिलकर काम करना, तद्वारा देश को, समाज को, हमारा भविष्य को भी अच्छा रास्ते में ले जाना, ये हमारा कर्तव्य है।
Vice President M. Venkaiah Naidu also emphasized on the need for the educational institutions to promote the spirit of innovation and entrepreneurship among the students. Addressing the students of the Indian Institute of Information Technology, Design and Manufacturing in Madhya Pradesh's Jabalpur, he said that technology is changing by the day and there is increased digitization in every field.
I call upon all the stakeholders to work towards improving the standards of teaching in our educational institutions. In ancient times, as I told you, India was the educational capital of the world. India has the potential to become the world's leading economy again. Once upon a time, people used to say 25% of the world GDP used to be contributed from India. But now, again, the opportunities are there.
The Vice President expressed concern over the threat of cyber attacks in the digital world and advised to focus on data security, availability of data and ease of communication.
The threat of cyber attacks and disruption is real. All stakeholders need to pay maximum attention to this aspect of digital world. Data security, reliability of data and stability in communication systems would be important in faster technology adoption. Another challenge in digital world is availability of content in Indian languages. Please, this is a बहुत महत्वपूर्ण विषय है.
While shifting focus to some international news now, where India has reacted strongly to Turkish President Recep Tayyip Erdogan's comments on Jammu and Kashmir in his address to Pakistan's parliament. The Ministry of External Affairs has asked the Turkish leadership to not interfere in India's internal affairs. The MEA said that India rejects all references made to Turkish President to Jammu and Kashmir, and which is an integral part of India. The MEA has asked the Turkish President to develop proper understanding of facts, including threat of terrorism emanating from Pakistan to India. Meanwhile, External Affairs Minister Subramaniam Jaishankar has said multilateralism can be strengthened by more creative diplomacy and plurilateral understanding. He also highlighted that the global political rebalancing is underway and made a case for greater Western flexibility while participating in the Munich Security Conference in Germany. The two-day conference of the world's leading forum for debate on international security policy began in Munich, Germany on Friday.
Europe collectively is India's largest trade partner. Europe collectively is India's largest investor and is also, by the way, largest investment destination. Actually, we have better, stronger, more forthright security conversations. We haven't had that perhaps as much as we should have. So that too is an issue. But there are other big challenges in the world today, challenges of, say, connectivity, challenges of technology. How do international organizations run or don't run? I think there's a lot out there which should be a conversation between India and the EU.
In other news now, Finance Minister NIRMALA SITHARAMAN on Saturday held a post-budget meeting with the Central Board of Directors of the Reserve Bank of India in New Delhi. Briefing the media after the meeting, the Finance Minister said that the government is monitoring banks on credit flow to agriculture sector. She said that the merger of banks did not come up for discussion during the meeting.
Credit limit has been expanded, and I'm sure that is based on the local ground level requirements, and it will keep adjusting to it. We expect the demand to meet up, grow, and the credit requirements to also meet up with it. I'm actually closely monitoring banks and their extension of credit facility, particularly to the rural areas. So I think we'll be able to meet up with that.
Meanwhile, RBI Governor Shaktikanta Das said that the credit growth is expected to pick up in the coming months. The surplus liquidity is helping monetary policy transmission. The RBI Governor further said that the growth projection of 6% has been given for the next year, which is in line with the economic survey projection.
We have said that for next year we have projected a growth of 6%, which is in line with what the economic survey has projected. And so therefore the growth projections are there very much in the MPC resolution. I really don't know what is the additional point you want. And second thing, which was your first point, is with regard to the impact of the rate cut plateauing out. I would not entirely agree with that, because the transmission of the rate cut has been steadily improving. If you recall, in the December MPC when we met, the transmission to fresh rupee loans was in the order of about 49 basis points.
Well, it's time for a short break now, but news and updates will continue on the other side. Stay tuned. We'll be right back.
Watch The Big Picture with me, Frank Rausen Pereira, at 9:30 p.m.
The prolific British poet and story writer Joseph Rudyard Kipling, one of the first masters of short stories in English. In 1894 appeared his Jungle Book, which became a children's classic all over the world. Kim, the story of Kimball O'Hara and his adventures in the Himalayas, is perhaps his most felicitous work published. Set in and concerned with India he had come to know and love so well. In 1907, Kipling became the first English language writer to receive the Nobel Prize for Literature.
देखिए आपका कानून मेरे साथ रविवार सुबह 10 बजे से 11 बजे तक सिर्फ राज्यसभा टीवी पर।
Coronavirus. We understand that the centre has formed a group of ministers to monitor the situation. But how well prepared are we to combat this menace?
We had started all our precautions and screening and everything possible that we should have done. on 17th of January itself.
Talking about the vaccination, we understand that Department of Biotechnology will partner with Norwegian-based organization to develop the vaccine.
Development of a vaccine for a particular, pathogen, it's a long effort. It's an effort which takes years for a vaccine to develop. So,
India has extended the helping hand to China, revoked the export ban of N95 masks.
good amount of masks also. We have instructed the states also to procure them. We have all those personal protective equipments also.
Watch To The Point with Union Minister Dr. Harshvardhan only on Rajya Sabha TV.
Welcome back. You're watching Rajya Sabha Television. I'm Rajya Pereira. Well, the Petroleum Minister Dharmendra Pradhan delivered the inaugural address at the 10th World Petro-Coal Congress 2020. The minister said that future of India's energy sector will be noticeably different from its current avatar and will be driven by new technology and business models. He further added that energy transition currently underway can become more manageable only if proactive measures are set in motion.
We need to create more innovative platform in India for convergence of leading global technology leaders in the energy sector. Friends, we have embarked on path-breaking initiative in transforming India into a gas-based economy. I consider that the biggest game changer to bring about greater environmental sustainability and flexibility in India's energy system is through rapid deployment of natural gas.
Well, BJP National President JP Nadda appointed new chiefs to the party's Kerala, Madhya Pradesh and Sikkim units. K. Surendran, has been appointed the president of the Kerala unit. Vishnu Dutt Sharma as the president of Madhya Pradesh unit and Dal Bahadur Chauhan as that of the Sikkim unit of the party. As national chief of the party, this is Nadda's second batch of appointments. He had earlier reappointed Chandrakant Patil as the chief of the BJP's Maharashtra unit. Well, Aam Aadmi Party chief Arvind Kejriwal will take oath as the Chief Minister of Delhi for the third time in a row on Sunday. Lieutenant Governor of Delhi, Anil Baijal, will administer the oath of office and secrecy to Kejriwal and his cabinet. All the 6 ministers in the previous government, Manish Sisodia, Satyendra Jain, Gopal Rai, Kailash Gehlot, Imran Hussain and Rajendra Gautam have been retained. Prime Minister Narendra Modi has been invited to the ceremony besides BJP MPs and MLAs from Delhi. Arvind Kejriwal's first term lasted only for 49 days and completed the full tenure in the second term. The Aam Aadmi Party swept the Delhi Assembly polls held last week, bagging 62 out of the 70 seats. A public lecture was organized on Saturday at the All India Institute of Medical Sciences in Delhi to spread awareness among people regarding celiac disease. Celiac disease is a serious autoimmune disease that affects our small intestine. It is a condition in which the immune system is abnormally sensitive to gluten, a protein found in wheat, rye and barley. AIIMS Director Dr. Randeep Guleria said that in India it is no more a rare disease and around 60 to 80 lakh people in the country are affected by it.
कई लोग ये सोचते हैं कि ये बीमारी इतनी कॉमन नहीं है, लेकिन अगर हम डेटा देखें, स्पेशली डिपार्टमेंट ऑफ गैस्ट्रोएंटरोलॉजी का एम्स का डेटा, उसमें ये देखा गया है कि ये बीमारी इतनी रेयर नहीं है और काफ़ी पेशेंट्स हैं जो इस बीमारी से सफ़र करते हैं.
Celiac disease can develop at any age after an individual starts eating food containing gluten. Intestinal damage causes diarrhea and poor absorption of nutrients, which also leads to weight loss.
एलर्जी नहीं कहते इसको, हम लोग कहते हैं कि ऑटोइम्यून डिजीज़. तो उसमें वीट में एक प्रोटीन होता है. वीट में जो प्रोटीन, वीट में अगर 100 ग्राम वीट लें हम तो 10 ग्राम प्रोटीन होता है. उसका 10 ग्राम का 8 ग्राम ग्लूटेन होता है. तो कुछ लोग ऐसे होते हैं जिनका एक जेनेटिक ससेप्टेबिलिटी होती है, वो ग्लूटेन डाइजेस्ट नहीं कर पाते और उनसे उनको भी बीमारी होती है. सबको नहीं होती है, जिनको जेनेटिक ससेप्टेबिलिटी है उन्हीं को बीमारी होती है.
Currently, there is no scientific way to treat it. The only treatment for celiac disease is lifelong adherence to gluten-free diet. Well, 17 people out of a large number of passengers who had arrived in Delhi from China and other coronavirus-affected countries before the screening at the airport began around mid-January have been found symptomatic for the infection and hospitalized. Delhi Health Department officials have traced many of such passengers. According to data shared by the Delhi Health Department, till February 13th, over 5,700 such passengers were approached after being informed by the Delhi airport authorities. Meanwhile, a third Indian crew member on board a cruise ship off the Japanese coast has tested positive for the novel coronavirus. The Indian Embassy in Tokyo, in a statement, said that 3 Indian crew members are among 218 people tested positive for the virus on the quarantined ship. A total of 406 people who are housed at a quarantine facility at the ITBP after being brought back from China may be released next week if their final samples turn out to be negative. Meanwhile, the Chinese mainland confirmed on Friday that 2,641 new cases of the novel coronavirus with 143 deaths reported. The total number of confirmed cases in China now stands at 67,576 and the cumulative death toll is 1,524, while over 550 cases and 2 deaths have been reported from abroad. Now, the Antarctic region registered its highest ever temperature on record earlier this week. Researchers logged 20.75 degrees Celsius on an island off the coast of the continent on the 9th of February, a record high temperature never seen before in the region. The record-setting temperature is attributed to climate change. Even though countries across the world have pledged to fight climate change, a recent UN report says that even if humans stopped emitting greenhouse gases right now, global warming would continue to happen for at least several more decades, if not centuries. That is why it is now important to revisit global commitments over climate change before it is too late.
Glaciers in Antarctica and Himalayas melting, bushfires raging across lakhs of acres in Australia, the lungs of the earth, Amazon forests on fire, unusual weather patterns seen across the world. Over the past decade or two, the frequency of these phenomena has increased. There is a direct link between these changes and climate change, and that's why the world has come together and set targets to fight climate change before it's too late. But are we doing enough? Is what we have planned for the future enough to halt an apocalypse? A United Nations report from November last year paints a bleak picture. The United Nations Environment Programme 2019 Emissions Gap Report says that the current committed measures will not keep global temperature increases within the 1.5 to 2 degrees Celsius range. At the current rate of emissions, the world's temperature could rise 3.2 degrees Celsius by 2100. So the UNEP suggests some extreme changes. To get Earth back on track to the 1.5 degree goal, countries must now multiply their commitment level 5 times the current rates outlined in the Paris Accords. This means that global greenhouse gas emissions must fall at least 7.6% every year to remove 32 gigatons of carbon dioxide from the atmosphere. Incremental change is no longer enough to stall off the potentially devastating effects of a changing climate. What is needed now is rapid and transformational action. 2019's UN Climate Action Summit saw some commitment from countries to advance their carbon neutrality efforts. With most G20 nations absent from the events at the summit, the 78% global greenhouse gas emissions they are responsible for is a big concern. Countries like the US, that leads G20 nations in per capita emissions, has already backed out of efforts against climate change.
One of the good things that happened was that our Prime Minister's that idea on Global Solar Alliance, huge alliance. Now, if we consciously take such decisions as to limit the greenhouse gas emissions on Earth, then there is hope. But it needs tremendous political will.
There are some essential changes that are needed to chip away at emissions. These include establishing vehicle emission standards and investing in public transportation that runs on electricity. Pricing carbon, meaning making major polluters pay for their emissions, provides an incentive for major emitters to reduce their output. Phasing out coal power plants will also help. With renewable energy technology becoming increasingly affordable, solar power and wind turbines are needed to phase out coal plants. These changes on a global scale will not be cheap. Climate policies consistent with the 1.5-degree goal could cost up to $3.6 trillion per year globally, but the cost likely outweighs the consequences of inaction. If global temperatures rise more than 1.5 degrees Celsius, humankind will have to make adaptations that will make a serious dent on the world's economy and reduce food security and biodiversity. And delaying action any further will need nations to remove carbon dioxide from the atmosphere at a magnitude that current technology and resources cannot achieve. So while immediate action is needed to save the earth, it is not too late to do something about it either. Responding to climate change needs a two-tier approach: mitigation, that is reducing the flow of greenhouse gases into the atmosphere, and adaptation, essentially meaning learning to live with and adapt to the climate change that has already been set in motion. With inputs from Vipul Agarwal, Bureau Report, Rajya Sabha TV.
And finally, some sports news now, where India's Bhavna Jat qualified for the 2020 Olympics after setting a new national record in the 20-kilometer race walk category at the National Championships in Ranchi on Saturday. Bhavna clocked 1 hour and 29 minutes and 54 seconds, while the Olympic qualification time is 1 hour and 31 minutes. The 2020 Olympics will be held in Tokyo from the 24th of July to the 9th of August 2020. Well, that's it on this newscast. Good night.